Welcome to Discover Week 7. We will go over our rules really quickly. Respect the privacy of others. What's said here stays here. Number 2, we are not here to fix one another, so please don't offer advice during group. Number 3, no crosstalk. Make a date to chat with someone one-on-one privately if you want to visit more. And number 4, limit sharing time when contributing to the conversation. And please use the mic, which Miranda has, and she will share when we get to that point. Tonight we're going to cover 2 steps again, like we did a couple weeks ago. We're going to cover step 8 and step 9. And so step 8 in a word is own it. It's pretty easy to remember. AA's step 8 says this: made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. There's a lot of exhaustive words in it. Our step 8 says revisited and added to our hurts given list and asked God to help us want to apologize. So step 8 is just about owning it. We're looking back at that list that is part of our inventory, our 5 inventory list from step 4. One of the list was people, institutions, groups of people, relationships, people I've hurt. Hurts I've given. One of the list was hurts given. And so what we're doing in step 8 is we're going back to that list. So if you've worked on that list at all, even if you just have one person on that list, go back to that list. We're going to look at it, and we're going to ask God to help us to want to apologize. We want to be willing to apologize to whoever is on that list. Step 8 implores us towards 2 actions. 1, it takes us back to part of step 4, where we began to make a list of people we have hurt. Step 8 brings that specific list to the forefront of this process and asks us to own the ways in which we have been the source of hurt. And in light of that list, step 8 encourages us to be willing to apologize to those we've hurt. In our instructions for filling out the hurts given list, we don't consider whether or not the people we have hurt are alive. That's a big deal. Because you're like, I don't need to put them on the list. She's dead, they're dead, it's done. Like, what's it matter? We put it on the list because we're cleaning out. We're doing inventory. So even if the person is not alive, we put them on the list. Whether we will revisit the institution, like maybe you stole something from a former company you worked for, or somehow you hurt a school you went to, or a church that you used to go to. If you hurt an institution, it doesn't matter whether you will ever go back to that institution or that grocery store or that school or that hospital. It doesn't matter. We put them on the list. If you know that you have hurt an institution, you put it on the list. And it doesn't matter whether they have hurt you. So you're like, well, I hurt them, but they hurt me too, so that cancels each other out. I'm not putting them on the list. No, it doesn't matter. So we put them on the list even if they have hurt us. And we put them on the list even if this relationship still exists. We simply make the list. So any hurt that you know you have doled out, you have dished out to other people or institutions, you put it on the list. Whom have you hurt over the course of your life? What places have you left wounds upon? Businesses, relationships, institutions, events, maybe family holidays, situations, maybe between friends or coworkers, teams, companies. On page 166 of Grace and Addiction, John Zoll does a great job of just kind of helping us understand the importance of this. Whom have we harmed with our self-centered behavior? Which people and institutions have been affected by our resentments? Again, some of the people on our list are usually loved ones, spouses, siblings, and other primary family members. Another category of people who should be featured on the list are people with whom we are no longer speaking. What relationships have disintegrated due to differences of opinion or argument? Who did we used to be friends with? Did we contribute in some way to the collapse of that relationship? If the answer is yes, then we add them to the list. One helpful way to figure out who these people are involves using our imagination. This is one of my favorite examples of how to test if that person should be on the list or not. Imagine for a moment that you are sitting in a coffee shop. Picture all of the people you have ever known walking into the shop, including people who have died, one at a time. Ask yourself whether or not an interaction would be awkward. If you could keep the person from recognizing you, would you? Who would you cross the street to avoid? Is it because you have caused some kind of harm that amounted to a bridge burning? Is there anyone that you hope you won't have to see again for the rest of your life? It may be the case that restitution has already been made to a particular individual. Perhaps apologies have been made, or maybe the victim of an action is over it. We add those names to our list anyway in the spirit of thoroughness. So if that helps you think through that list that came with your step 4 inventory list, hurts given, that exercise is one of the best to help me think through. And sometimes I will be sitting in a coffee shop and that will come across my mind and go, oh, like that person needs to go on the list. So that may help you. Step 8 reveals to us how unwilling we have been and currently are to own the ways in which we have hurt others or to apologize. Sometimes it's easier to put people on the list, but to actually be willing to make the apology is a different step, is it not? It's different. I can easily write 5 names right now that I need to apologize to. For me to be willing to apologize to that list of people is a different step. For me to actually apologize would then be another step. So we're talking about making the list, like revisiting that list, and asking God to help us be willing to apologize. Whatever the degree of discomfort we feel when considering the hurts we've inflicted and the idea of apologizing, that discomfort level reveals the extent of relief we may get on the other side of the next step, which is the apology. So however much you resist it, whatever, if that's like from 1 to 5, if it's like a 5, it's like you can't resist it anymore. And 1 is like, I would apologize. Whatever that number might be, that is usually equal to how much relief you will feel once you've actually made the apology. The past is always present. It is a part of the overall makeup of each human. It is influencing us currently. You may move beyond an instance, a situation, a season on your life timeline because time doesn't stop. But the past is always somehow presently with you, good or bad. And that's worth contemplating. A lot of, recovery groups and step studies, especially Christian ones, really try to move you beyond something in a way that is neglectful instead of reflective. And what we're trying to do is be reflective and consider it and how it is present with us right now, how it's affecting us right now, how that bitterness or resentment or anger or hurt is right now, here, right now, even if it happened last week, last year, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, when you were 8 years old, it's still here somehow, for better or for worse. It's with you right now. Even if it's resolved, it's with you. There's some measure of healing that has taken place in you, even if you have healed from some hurt. So for us to remember, instead of just going, well, it's in the past. They're probably, down the road too and forgot about it. We make the list. We make the list. Reconciling the past, which is just having peace with our past, is crucial for a healthier life in every area. God reconciled us vertically. That's a huge thing. So to reconcile is no small thing. These 12 steps help reconcile us horizontally. Remember, we don't want to conflate our need to reconcile horizontally with our already the reconciliation we already have vertically. We don't want to conflate those two. Just because you don't have it horizontally with someone doesn't mean that you don't already have it vertically. You have it vertically. You cannot lose it. Jesus lived, died, buried, and rose so that we would be reconciled to God, so that we would have peace with God. That's what that is. Reconciled is just having peace with a person or a situation. So for us to have peace horizontally, we first, hopefully with the steps previous to this, we know this vertical truth of reconciliation more, so that it will help us be willing to make these reconciliations that we want to attempt horizontally. It will inform that, right? Not the opposite. It's not forgive others so you will be forgiven. That verse is taken out of context all the time. So you're not doing this to gain God's forgiveness. You couldn't have more forgiveness than you already have. You got it. You got 100% of it. You can't get any more of it from God. You can gain some from people in your life horizontally. That's not the same thing as God's forgiveness, right? God's forgiveness trumps all of it, and it is in full, and it is final. You cannot undo it, even if you never apologize to anyone that you need to, and you're never willing to apologize, and you don't even make the list of who you've hurt. It's not going to change God's forgiveness of you. That truth hopefully informs what we do horizontally. So the vertical, Jesus came and took our list of sins and reconciled them on the cross. He knows our inventory list more completely than we do. He knows them in full. He knows them front to back, every way around it, right? We have some consciousness of some of that archaeology. He knows all of it. He owned it all. On the cross, that's what he did. He owned all of the stuff on our list. And he was willing to take the necessary steps to make amends, to reconcile, to make peace with God for us on our behalf. This is a vertical work done for us that is unchangeable. We cannot undo the work Jesus has done to reconcile us. We are forever forgiven and innocent before God because of the living amends Jesus worked on our behalf. That's huge. That's an unbelievable miracle that we are the recipients of. We live and have our being as forgiven people, whether we believe it or not. That is true. Horizontal. This is person to person. This is us with the world. The 12 steps invite us to dig deeply in the dirt of our lives and make the list that can lead to reconciliation horizontally, here on the ground, in the lives we actually live. Owning up to our part in an issue, a relationship, or situation, and being willing to apologize for the hurt we caused is fertile ground for horizontal reconciliation. Here are two passages that I love to use with this step. Remember, in one word, or two, small ones, short ones, this step, step 8, is own it. Like, just own what you did, own your part. And if you'll recall the story of Nathan speaking to David after David and Bathsheba had their little rendezvous, and David had Bathsheba's husband killed, and just that whole complete debacle. So Nathan said to David in 2 Samuel chapter 12, "You are the man," when he was talking about the dream that he had and the person in the dream. And, if you go back and read all of 2 Samuel 12, or just 2 Samuel in general, like, you can read this whole story. But Nathan said to him, "You are the man in the dream. Like, you're the bad man. You're the man that hurt other people in the dream. You're the man who was greedy. You're the man who was sinning. You're the man that was hurtful in this situation." And later on in the conversation, David says back to Nathan, "I have sinned." So he owns it in that moment. And so when I think about that whole story, which I didn't want to post the whole story in here, but if you go back and read that story in light of step 8, that's a moment of someone that David actually hurt coming to mind. And in that moment, he's willing to admit, I've sinned. Like, I am the man. Like, I actually am that man. I need to make this right. I need to make this horizontally right. The other passage that I like for this is in Romans 1. Actually, that's not right. It says Romans 1, the first verse, but that's not the whole reference. In judging others, you condemn yourself, since you behave no differently than those you judge. It's really plain and direct and to the point. And most often, when I think about being hurt, and we're not talking about crimes here. So if you are a victim of any kind of crime, you just take that hurt and you put it over here, because this is not what this is talking about. In other ways that we hurt each other, and we have been hurt, that are not criminal. And you're like, I mean, he did that to me, they did that to me, she did that to me. You know, I'm not speaking to them, or I'm going to give them the silent treatment, or I'm just not going to be their friend anymore, or whatever the case may be. In judging others, you condemn yourself, since you behave no differently than those you judge. When I made my list of hurts given, I realize in judging others, I condemn myself because I've behaved no differently than those people I've judged. Like the ones that I put on my hurts taken list, I realize doesn't invalidate the fact that they've hurt me, but I need to not think my hurt worse than their hurt. It is hurt, right? Hurt is hurt. Again, we're not talking about crimes here. So it's a whole different area that we would go. So our work of steps 8 and 9 is a horizontal shadow of the vertical reality. That's something that John Zoll says in here. The shadow of the cross, which I love that imagery, because if you think about, it's a vertical, a cross. The cross was standing vertically, and in the shadow of that, this horizontal shadow of that, that's what we're, step 8 and 9 are done in the shadow of the cross. The vertical has to inform the horizontal. So on to step 9, and these steps just go hand in hand, because usually once you're willing to make an apology, then the next thing you want to do, you might be very excited actually about I'm willing and I'm ready to make an apology. And I've kind of had this newfound freedom, and I've been doing all this inventory, kind of working on myself, and God's taking me through this journey, and I'm kind of pumped about what's going on. Well, simmer down, because you need to do something really important before you take that next step. Step 9 is apology. And AA's step 9 says this: made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Our step 9 says we apologized how, when, and where possible, unless it would inflict harm. So the goal of step 9's apologies is in service primarily to others. It is a service that we are doing to someone else, primarily. This step is not about us. It is not about our wanted forgiveness. That's tricky, right? We can make that list of who we've hurt and be willing to go apologize to them. And one of the reasons we cannot escape it, that we want to do that, is because we want to know that we're forgiven by those people. It would benefit us. But that is secondary. That it cannot be the primary reason that you are willing to go apologize to somebody. This step is not about us. It is not about our wanted forgiveness or our ease. It's about giving a much needed apology to those that would benefit from it, and easing the heart and mind and life of someone else. So we're trying to put someone else before ourselves in this step of apology. Remember, we do not need human forgiveness. We want it, we don't need it, do we? There's no human forgiveness that I actually need. The forgiveness I need, I already have. I don't need human forgiveness. I want it. Rather, we might benefit from it, but we do not need it. The forgiveness we need, we already have. Although this step is for others primarily, if we go through with step 9 apologies, we will also benefit greatly. The more we believe we already have vertical amends with God, we become more willing to make horizontal amends with others. The relief on the other side of simply apologizing lightens our hearts and minds. It's like cleaning our side of the street. So you can't clean up other people's streets. You can only clean your side of the street. And if I know there's someone on my list that I need to make an apology to, that's all I can do. I cannot make them forgive me. I cannot make them apologize maybe for their part in the same situation. All I can do is clean my side of the street. Timing is of great importance in step 9. Has anybody ever apologized to you and you're like, this is not the time. This is not the time. Do not come to me with this apology right now. It just happened. Like, I'm mad. Like, do not come to me right now. Timing is of great importance. Or maybe it's like a special day and you're like, really? Like in the middle of like this, you're coming here? It's Thanksgiving. Like, maybe it's the best day, but maybe it's not a good day. Timing is of great importance in step 9. We should use our newfound sense of focus, wisdom, freedom, and excitement as grounds to enter into this step lightly, not to burden the offended person with every detail, which means, have you ever heard of anything called total disclosure? A lot of recovery systems that have to do with adultery, any kind of sexual sin, drugs, specifically those, they really push total disclosure, which I'm not a whole big fan of, honestly. I want people to be appropriately honest to the degree that is honest and portrays a true picture of what has happened to the people that picture needs to be given. But everybody doesn't need to know all the details of everything. It is a burden to other people a lot of times when we do that. We may be really excited about this newfound freedom and honesty that we have, and so we just tell it all, like in a way that's like, and they're like, holy hell, like, okay, that was enough. Like, I don't need to know, I don't want to know anymore, right? I don't want to know any more about that right now. So just be wise. This step requires so much wisdom when you make an apology. Wisdom in this step is of utmost importance. Discuss your hurts given list with a trusted person, if you want to call that a sponsor or whatever you want to call them, but that trusted person, it could be the same person that you shared your inventory with. It could be a different person that you just absolutely trust, because maybe you just have like this person that you can trust to ask about that person you need to apologize to, because maybe they have some insight specifically to that situation or that type of relationship or that person, and they're like, I'm glad you want to apologize, probably not the best time given blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's just a person who has some insight, but maybe it's a person who is completely unrelated, and so you are able to just run it by them and get an unbiased opinion and some input. So discuss your hurts given list, that list from your inventory, with a trusted person to help divide the list across the 4 categories below in order to know how to proceed with your apologies. So what I do on my list of hurts given, I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, like we're about to go over types of apologies. There's 4 types that we're going to cover. And so by each of those person's name on my hurts given, I put a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Like this, so it references how I'm going to make the apology, how best I could make the apology to that person. And now we're going to unpack what those are. So there are 4 basic types of apology. Number 1 is face-to-face. You set a time, a date, a location that works best for the other person, the person you're apologizing to. This is not about your convenience. We set a time, date, and location that works best for the other person. Pray before the meeting. before you even get there. Be on time, create comfort, ease into a general apology. Listen. I should have put that in all caps. Offer acts of service to make up for the hurt. Take reasonable actions they've requested, if any. And so on pages 182 to 183, I'll share something with you that John has said that will help us. So in light of, you set date, time, location, ease into general conversation. If you get to, say you're at a coffee shop, you might offer to buy her coffee if she wants some. Make light small talk and reassure them with a smile and calm demeanor. You are not there to pounce, which would likely be the exact way you got yourself into needing to make amends in the first place. After a few short minutes, the person will make it clear using body language or perhaps words that she is ready to hear why you have called her to this meeting. You would then say something like this: "Thank you for meeting with me. I've been trying to make some changes in my life, and part of those changes has involved a fair amount of reflection. I'm aware that I have not treated some of the people in my life well, and I think you are one of them. Looking back, I see that there were many times in our past when I acted selfishly. It wasn't fair to you, and I regret it. I've asked you to meet me here today so that I could tell you I'm sorry for the way I acted and the things I did. Is there anything I can do to make it up to you?" That's pretty simple, and you could say even fewer words than that, using the same idea. Notice that the amends maker does not initially need to highlight any particular incident. That person didn't say anything specific. After we have said our piece, we should shut our mouths and allow the other person to process what we've said. We should listen to whatever he has to say. We encourage amends makers not to be afraid of silence, which we often are. We are not looking for any particular response other than the one which comes naturally to the recipient, which may not be good. God will guide the other person. The recipient may or may not wish to revisit the past with us. Obviously, the ninth step creates a somewhat awkward interaction. The recipient may wish to move on quickly, demurring with a line like, "Don't worry about it, I forgive you, I'm glad you're doing well." If this is the response, it's a fine one. After all, we only want the response that God gives them. Another common response is, "What exactly are you talking about?" If this is the case, we might speak in brief general terms about the particular circumstance involved. For example, remember when we were in Spain? Or remember when we went on that double date? A short answer should be enough to trigger a more in-depth response, which is the very thing that you're looking for. The recipient may reply, "Well, I'm glad you're finally aware of how your behavior affected me. It was really upsetting." We allow him to vent, taking whatever poison he wishes to throw at us. In no case are we to discuss the recipient's behavior. Good luck with that. Peace be with you. I know that that's hard, and it is, but criticism has no place in step 9. We are there to sweep off our side of the street, not his. So hopefully that helps, and if you have this book, there's more that he has to say about this, which is really good. You just do the best that you can, ultimately. So that's face-to-face. It's pretty straightforward. You keep it simple. It doesn't have to be lengthy unless they want to talk about it more, unless the person that you're there to apologize wants to spend more time talking about it. Number 2, written apology. Use this method if the person lives too far away to meet face-to-face, if the person is dead, or you cannot meet with them in person at all for some reason. This can be a handwritten letter, an email, or text. You can send it directly to the person, read aloud to a stand-in, or read aloud in a location. Now, I'm going to unpack that a little bit because that's explains several options. Making amends by writing a letter is a common and helpful practice when face-to-face meeting is not possible. Perhaps the person on the list lives far away and cannot make a trip to settle with you. A brief letter or email may be appropriate. He says, one classic situation that merits an amend letter is the occasion of death. Perhaps we treated a loved one horribly at a much earlier point in life, and then the loved one died. Obviously, we cannot make amends face-to-face, but perhaps we can visit the grave and read aloud what we would say in a face-to-face interaction. This can be very powerful. Letters can also be helpful in cases where a person doesn't want to talk. Whoever you need to apologize doesn't want to talk to you, but only if a sponsor advises us to do so. If a person does not wish to be in touch at all, it's probably wise not to press the issue. We might write an unsent letter and read it to a sponsor or counselor or minister or quietly in church to God during a midweek lunch break. Amends makers sometimes pretend that the person is there and that they are able to talk, even though they are not. The experience may sound a bit hokey, but it can be very helpful and cathartic. Additionally, someone's reluctance to be in contact with us may be God's way of telling us to proceed with a living amend, which is number 4. And we're not going to cover that yet. But number 3 type of apology is wait and see but willing. Apologies that you are willing to make but are postponed for now until better time arrives, usually because the hurt is too recent or too raw, so you proceed with a living amends until that time. So number 4, living amends can be done by anybody at any time, for anybody. When face-to-face or written apology would do more harm than good, living amends is the best option. It basically gives you an opportunity to express your apology through living differently, living in contrast to how you once behaved, to approach life in opposite terms. So if you have your list of people that you've hurt, and you are able to look at that list and then write one of these 4 numbers to see, like, which way is best that I would apologize. And maybe that it just comes to mind like that, but maybe you need to talk to somebody and say, which one is it? I'm not really sure. 3 passages of scripture that I like to go with this step. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Because remember, this is for the other person, so it's really challenging me to not apologize out of selfish ambition. I mean, that's very natural, comes very natural to us. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interest, but each of you to the interest of the others, which is really just loving somebody the way that you would want to be loved. So to think about your apology in the way that Philippians frames that passage, just, this is not about me. This is about me valuing the fact that I hurt someone, and I'm acknowledging that, and valuing another person, in this instance, more than myself. And that humility that comes from that kind of willingness hopefully births wisdom in this situation. In 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9, each time he said, "My grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weakness, so that the power of Christ can work through me." And that passage for me, when I have to make an apology, and I'm like, I don't have what it takes, I don't even know what I'm going to say, or just whatever insecurities I have about the apology process, for me to be reminded that God's grace is all that I need, and I have it, and that his power works best in my weakness. Like, that is the whole picture of his redemption of me. So no matter what happens, it's going to be okay, even if it's not okay. In that moment, I'm making my apology. It is going to be okay. And so sometimes that's the only thing I need to remember, is that no matter what this person says, how this goes, it's going to be okay. And everything I need, I already have. I have the grace that I need. I don't need grace from this person in this moment. That's not always an easy place to arrive at. In John chapter 3, verse 27, John answered and said, "A man can receive nothing unless it has been given to him from heaven." A man can receive nothing unless it's been given to him from heaven. So we've been given this amazing measure of forgiveness, total forgiveness, full forgiveness for past, present, and future sins. And the only way I could get an apology from anybody else horizontally is if God does that in a person. So any forgiveness that I actually get is all from God. Any forgiveness that you get from a person is actually from God. It's God at work in that person, pushing them, compelling them somehow to forgive you to some degree. It's not the same, and it won't feel the same as like God's forgiveness, perfect forgiveness, because this is a flawed human. But any amount of forgiveness that I am able to give another person, it's not because I'm like, well, I really need to forgive him for that. So, like, let me muster up some forgiveness so I can give it to him. I mean, there's been a lot of people that I would like to forgive like that because I would feel better. It's a selfish ambition. Like, I want to forgive them just so I feel better. And just so it doesn't feel weird, or just so I don't have to think about it anymore. There's that, but then there's also, I really want us to be friends again. I want this to be better. I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want this to be like this anymore. So, I'm just going to forgive you. If I could will myself to forgive someone, that'd be amazing. None of us can do that. We can go, okay, yes, I forgive you. And then we leave our little coffee date, and I'm like, oh, she's so annoying to me. I can't believe that she apologized like that. I didn't really forgive the person. We do that kind of stuff often and say like, oh yeah, I forgive you. And nobody did. You didn't actually do that. No, any forgiveness that I'm able to give to someone, God has infused that ability in me. He has pressed that out of me. He has birthed that forgiveness. I cannot muster that up, right? Anything good is God. So anything good in me is God. So it can't be, birthed from Stacie. It's not the, fruits of Stacie's spirit. It's fruits of the Holy Spirit, not Stacie's spirit. Stacie's spirit, it has some other fruit that comes to, and it's not good. It's the sour kind. So John answered and said, "A man can receive nothing unless it has been given to him from heaven." So for me to remember, God would have to give this person that I'm apologizing something. He would have to soften that person's heart. He would have to give them clarity or give them a perspective that maybe goes, I do forgive her because I've done that. Or maybe I haven't. I just forgive her. I feel actually like I've forgiven you. And you'll be able to tell that in a relationship, not because it's reactivated, because there's something bad that's not there anymore. There's something awkward that's gone. There's something, there's tension or some sort of stress or some sort of weirdness that is just gone, and you don't really know how to explain that. And if we could just get rid of those kind of feelings and those places in our lives, we would. All of us would. Nobody wants to have places of tension and awkwardness and weirdness with people in relationships, but we can't, right? We can't just make those go away. Even in instances where I want to forgive somebody, I'm like, gosh, it would just make it so much better. But I can't. God has to do something in a person for forgiveness to come and be shared. So that's why that passage in John I love. Just reminds me of man can receive nothing. I can't be forgiving to others, and I cannot receive forgiveness myself unless it comes from heaven. So my prayer prompt for step 8, own it, and step 9, apology, is God, lead me to revisit the painful truth of those I have hurt. Bring to mind those people I need to apologize to, and give me the wisdom to know how. Help me to accept the outcome of my attempts to apologize, and help me believe in your total forgiveness of me. some think about it notes. Sometimes, if you're in thinking about your list of your people that you've hurt and need to apologize, sometimes it's helpful to start with the scariest one first, like the hardest one, the hardest apology to make. Sometimes it's helpful to start with that one because then everything after that seems easier. Also, sometimes it's helpful to start with the easiest one first because you're like, oh, I can get like several of these out of the way. Like I could do that one. I think I could sit down and I could write those letters. I could talk to that person. Like some of these easier ones, I could do those and wait on God to help me really get some strength and energy and maybe some encouragement from these other easy ones before I deal with like this really scary one, like this harder one. So I don't know what's best for you. Sometimes it's helpful to start with the scariest ones. Sometimes it's helpful to start with the easy ones. That's between you and God. Do not ask for forgiveness. You don't ask for anything. You give in step 9. So oftentimes, and I've literally read this, and I just want to slap somebody in the face. When you are apologizing and you are, giving to a person and trying to make something right here, offering an apology, and you say, I know that I hurt you during that season, and I'm so sorry for how I acted and all the things I said. Will you please forgive me? What did you just do? You asked them to give you something. You asked them to give you something. You put a burden on them in that moment to give you something. You are not doing that. We do not do that when we apologize. If you are actually apologizing, you are only giving. We do not ask for forgiveness. That is on them. That is between them and God. You don't say, I'm apologizing to you because I'd really like forgiveness. That's essentially when you're asking, do you forgive me? You don't put that on a person. It is the absolutely wrong way to make an apology. And you've been in a situation where somebody has asked that of you. In a moment where you're like, give me a second. And you're like, okay, yes, I do. I mean, again, we're talking about something obligatory and superficial and burdening someone. You don't give them something and then go, now give me something. That's not what we're doing. We're making an apology. We are one way loving someone. We are giving it and leaving it there. We are giving that apology and we are leaving it there. If they want to say, I forgive you. Like, I forgave you a long time ago. I've actually had peace with that for years. Cool. Don't ask for that. That is absolutely against the rule of apology. You do not ask for forgiveness. You are apologizing. We do not ask for anything in this scenario, in this step. If you want to go and talk about, people who have hurt you in a specific way, and you want to do stuff with those people on that list, that's totally different. In this scenario, when we have hurt people and we need to go apologize, we are not asking anything from them. We are only giving, and that can be very difficult. And a lot of times, especially if you've been churched or raised in the South, or really raised anywhere, because I know all cultures that do this, and they're just like, I'm sorry, now do you forgive me? And it's very demanding, and it's like a law. It's legalistic, it's law-driven in that moment. Well, I did what I did. It's an exchange, which is what religion is all about, which is what a theology of glory is all about. I give you this. I mean, that's karma. That's like a form of karma. I did this, now you did this. We're making an exchange. That's not how God describes his love. It's just one way. I'm just giving you this. You owe me nothing. I'm just giving it to you. That's actual love. When it's given without, you may benefit from getting that forgiveness. You may benefit from them giving you something back. But that's not why we're there. So if that's something new, to not ask for forgiveness, put yourself in that position. You don't want anything asked of you when you're hurt. When someone's coming to apologize to you, you don't want to be asked then to give something. It is quintessentially a massive mistake to do. Next, expect people to vent or not accept your apology. Also can happen. Also, you can expect people to come back to you to revisit the issue maybe multiple times. You know, in my mind, I may go, I'm going to set up my little coffee date with so-and-so, and, you know, my plan is like, an expectation is to go, and this is what I'm going to say, and we'll be done. Done, right? And, you know, I say my piece, and she's like pissed and just going on, and I'm like listening and listening and listening, and like, okay, you know, yes, I'm so sorry. And then we get up and we leave, and then I get calls or text, and she wants to revisit it more. Now, some people are crazy, certifiably, okay, and you know it. And I can be crazy, certifiably, and I know it. But people that want to, when you make the apology, and they want to just keep it going, and they just want to keep, you know, revisiting it because it feels like they have you in a place where it's like, yeah, well, she has more to apologize for. And I'm in control of this, so I'm just going to keep it going. Be reasonable. Use wisdom and be reasonable. And if somebody's being unreasonable, then you don't engage. You don't engage anymore. I'm not gonna talk anymore about that with you. I'm sorry for what my part was, and you don't ever say, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Also a no-no. Do not say that. I'm sorry, you're owning your stuff. I'm sorry for what I said, what I did, how I acted, whatever it was. I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry I left you. Whatever the action was, that's what you're not apologizing for their feelings about it. But some people will get real crazy when you start making amends. And you know who they will be, potentially. So brace yourself for that. Like, you know, have a talk with somebody that's unbiased or outside of that situation. Sometimes you can even take, it's not on here, but sometimes you could take a person with you, you know, depending on like, if it's like, say, you know, you're going to somebody, especially in your family, and you're going to go talk to your sister, or you're going to go talk to your mom, and you're taking your sister, so that, you know, mom can't say, she didn't apologize. She's never apologized for that. You know, sometimes you want to apologize to a cantankerous person, an unreasonable person, but you also need to some degree, maybe protect yourself and protect them from getting crazier. You know, some people will act a little bit better if they have somebody else sitting in the room and it's not just the two of you. You know those people. I know those people. You know, it might go a little bit better if you have a witness to the situation. And sometimes you're apologizing to a group of people. You know, maybe it's to your family, maybe it's to some coworkers or something. But expect people to vent. When people are hurt, they typically vent. I do. I want to. Sometimes I don't want to accept an apology because I'm just too hurt, which means it's just too soon, probably, for the apology. And they may want to revisit the issue, and maybe multiple times. And in some cases, there's nothing wrong with that because they're being reasonable, and maybe they're processing like, gosh, I never thought you would apologize for that. And now that you have, I'm kind of thinking about things a little differently. It's kind of like a tennis shoe and a dryer, and I kind of, like, could we talk next week maybe? You know, could we talk on the phone, or could we meet again, or something? Just use wisdom. Step 9 is a beginning to amends, not an ending. Because a lot of times we think like we did the apology and the amends is made. It's the beginning of amends being made, because then God is doing something with that apology and with, you know, the ground of like willingness. Like, okay, she's heard me, and now God's doing something in her. So it's a beginning to amends, like to where there's some sort of reconciliation, there's some sort of peace with the issue. And remember, reconciliation does not mean reactivation. So many times, a lot of Christian systems especially will be like, well, you need to be in relationship with that person. You need to reactivate your relationship with your mom, with your brother, whatever. That's not what that means, right? You do not have to have reactivation of a relationship to have reconciliation. That's very important to be wise about, because a lot of times maybe you shouldn't. Even if you're seeking reactivation, maybe they're not, because you shouldn't have one. Maybe it just should be reconciled and there's peace there, but we're not going to be friends. Our relationship's not going to be like that again. Because we're looking for peace about it. We're looking for reconciliation horizontally about it, right? We're not, there might be some of these people that you need to say you're sorry to that you might want to have reactivation with. You know, talk to somebody trusted that's unbiased, that can give you some honest feedback and go, I think that you're trying to apologize because you would like that reactivated, not because you just genuinely want to apologize to that person, period. It seems like you want something out of it, like you want something to come out of that. You know, that can happen a lot of times when there's like spousal stuff that's gone on, some sort of infidelity or some sort of real breach of trust. And, you know, the person that has hurt the other person can, yes, they want to offer apology, but they also, like, I want my husband back, I want my wife back, I want, you know, or I want my parent back, or my child, or my, you know, sometimes we just want to get back in relationship. And that's a very, very touchy situation. So speak to somebody outside of that situation, or multiple people that are trusted, that are wise, that can help you navigate things like that, because it can be very tricky. So that concludes our Discover Week 7 notes of Step 8 and Step 9. All right, ladies.